sisters, we've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice. Oh, let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed. Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice. Jimmy Lakey, Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey.
Well, top of the morning to everybody. How's everybody doing? The Jimmy Lakey Mass Choir's up early this morning singing the praise of yours truly, or at least singing my name. I'm not sure they're praising me, but good morning to everybody. Lakey unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. Can you believe we've been doing this over a year now? The little Lakey Unleashed streamcast, broadcast, and podcast. We do it all, my friends, right here in one little cuddly little package of infotainment. Good to have all of you here as we mark our days closer and closer to Christmas. We are 1 week away from Christmas Eve. This time next week, when you wake up on the hump day, the Wednesday, you'll say, oh, happy Christmas Eve. But today you'll say happy December 17th, the 17th day of December, year of our Lord 2025. Pleasured, pleased, and thrilled. And if we're 7 days from the old Christmas Eve 1 week, we're 1 week and a day from Christmas Day. So we got you work it out there. If you haven't ordered my gift, there is still time to do so. Many of you wanting to know shipping instructions, go to the website. Just ship it to the Rivers Promise website. They'll get it to me. If you're shipping my gift to me, feel free. I would love to receive those from you, and thank you. You're welcome. And by the way, don't forget to include your address, and I'll have Delilah send you something real special. Yeah, right, Delilah? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. All right, good morning again. Wednesday, December 17th, the year of our Lord, 2025. Donald Trump says, hey, we should arrest Christopher Wray, and while we're at it, let's go get old Merrick Garland, the old attorney general. Have you heard the story? Well, if not, you're about to, because I'm about to tell it to you. Here we go. Trump says arrest Wray and Garland for their participation and approval of the Mar-a-Lago raid back the Biden administration. President Trump late Tuesday railed against the 2022 raid of his Mar-a-Lago estate, calling on the FBI's action for unreasonable search and seizure, and agreeing with the follower's social media post that calls for the arrest of former FBI Director Christopher Wray and former Attorney General General Merrick Garland. By the way, Merrick Garland is the guy that we know is a pillar of corruption, a pillar of just animosity, hatred, and vitriol. But he was the one that the American left back in the final days of the Barry Hussein Obama administration said Merrick Garland is the fourth part of the Holy Trinity. There had never been a more honorable and just man to walk the planet, and he should be on the Supreme Court. Of course, old Mitch McConnell blocked it and said the new president will pick the new Supreme Court member, and Merrick Garland's not going to do it. And ever since then, Merrick Garland has shown that if the left believes he's the fourth part of the Holy Trinity, that ought to tell you how evil the rest of them are, because Merrick Garland is a very corrupt and very nasty man and a very horrible attorney general that either was complicit and or complacent when it came to some of the criminality and the weaponization of the justice system. So it is amazing that they held him up as the pillar of the community, that there's no one more just than Merrick Garland. No one ever been more qualified to be on the Supreme Court of the United States. And thank God we weren't stuck with that son of a gun with a lifetime appointment. Again, if this is the left's version, if Merrick Garland is the left's version of morality and legal clarity, then you hate to see. If that's the best they have to offer, and I'll let you know how corrupt the modern Democrat Party is, if Merrick Garland's the best one they put forth and say, look how holy he is. The FBI's criminal raid on Mar-a-Lago, said President Trump, should never be allowed to happen again. You say, what sparked all this? Well, because earlier on Tuesday, Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Chuck Grassley from Iowa released a newly declassified email, several emails actually, that showed FBI agents did not believe that they had the authority to raid Trump's property in Florida in August of 2022, but were pressured to take action by Joe Biden's Justice Department, the very corrupt Christopher Wray, and the shockingly corrupt Merrick Garland. Received shocking new docs, according to Trump today, from the Department of Justice, is the FBI showing the FBI did not believe that they had probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago, but Biden's DOJ pushed the FBI to do it anyway. This is what Grassley said on X. He said, based on the records, Mar-a-Lago was a miscarriage of justice when they raided it. He also posted communication that had taken place between the FBI and the Department of Justice in the weeks before the raid, dated June of 2022, shortly before the raid took place. So documents are coming out that the FBI agents were saying, we don't have the right to raid Mar-a-Lago. There's no probable cause. There's nothing here. And yet you had the corrupt corrupt Christopher Wray and the corrupt Merrick Garland saying, no, we're going to raid the damn thing anyway. And they did. And President Trump says, why are we not arresting the Sacagawea that obviously against the wisdom of agents and investigators, they said, no, we don't care if you have evidence or not, you're going to go raid Mar-a-Lago. And they did, and it was a show thing, and Donald Trump still pulled off the greatest comeback in American history and maybe in world history when it comes to politics. So anyway, Trump says arrest Wray and Garland. Do you agree or disagree with that? I don't know the grounds, but to see Merrick Garland especially held accountable for the corruption as the Attorney General, to see Christopher Wray, the lies that Christopher Wray himself told just about Thomas Crooks in the first assassination attempt on Donald Trump, there should be some charges against him for contempt of Congress and lying to Congress, etc. So they're both very corrupt men. They're very evil people in their hearts. And did they start out that way? Were they born into such idiocy? Well, we're all born into sin, so we understand that. But is this something that Merrick Garland went over the edge because his mind broke because of Donald John Trump? Did Christopher Wray start off to be a good guy, but his mind broke because of Donald John Trump? It's very likely that Donald John Trump broke these men. Their mental weakness is now on display. And as Scott says, maybe it was Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray that just wanted to see a peek. Please take a photo of Melania's underwear drawer. Remember, they raided Melania's underwear drawer. They upended Barron Trump's bedroom as a young man, and they were looking for what? We're not really sure. They said they found documents, and then now we realize there was no need to even do that. It was a political prosecution brought to you by Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland. And President Trump says these perverts that they are, wanting to see Melania's panties, ought to be probably locked up and perp walked. And again, not sure if there's legal justification, but if there is, my friends, I think it would be justice served so that it teaches a lesson that this should never, ever, ever happen again. One of the sad things about being president isn't that you just score political enemies, is that you also have a responsibility when people die in service of their country, and that is oftentimes the witness of the dignified transfer. Now, if you remember the time that you had Joe Biden checking the watch after the people that killed at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan, he's checking the watch of the dignified transfer. There's all sorts of stories of Hillary Clinton botching after the Benghazi murders, what she said to the families and the lies they told to the Benghazi family. So the dignified transfer is something that Democrat presidents and secretaries of states like Hillary Rodham Kinkles Clinton and Barry Hussein Obama Joseph Poopy Pants Biden, I should say, have often botched these up. Well, Donald Trump is going to witness the dignified transfer for the 2 National Guard members that were killed in Syria. He's going to take one of the most solemn duties facing the commander-in-chief. He will do that today when he witnesses the dignified transfer for 2 Iowa National Guard members that were killed in a Syrian attack a couple of days ago. The ritual will be at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. It honors the U.S. service members killed in action. Trump, who's traveled now to Dover several times in his first term for this, just says it's the toughest thing I have to do. The 2 guardsmen killed in Syria, let's say their names were Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tovar, age 25 of Des Moines, and Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard, age 29 of Marshalltown, Iowa. According to the U.S. Army, both of them were members of the 1st Squadron, 113th Cavalry Regiment. The men may have been hailed as heroes by the Iowa National Guard. A U.S. civilian worker as an interpreter was one of them, was also killed from Michigan. 3 other members of the Iowa National Guard were injured in the attack. The Pentagon has not identified the injured. And these were attacks in Syria, where the U.S. deployed troops in western Syria as a part of a fighting the Islamic State group. And this unprovoked attack, President Trump says there will be hell to pay and much damage done to Syria for these attacks. But today, he takes on the most solemn and what he says the most difficult part of the presidency is the dignified transfer of the members of the military that died in service of their country. That will happen today. And if you haven't ever watched one of those ceremonies, it is a very beautiful and yet very solemn ceremony indeed. I've got a question for you. I was questioning the other day, where did this elf on a shelf come from? I never remember the elf on the shelf. Never heard of it and didn't know anything about it until I had a son. And then I saw friends start posting it on social media about how they're doing the elf on a shelf. And if you don't know elf on a shelf, it moves around every night and people post it and the kids are supposed to, oh, the elf is naughty. And then you have, I think this came out on Shark Tank, you had the Minch on the Bench, which is a Hanukkah / Jewish version of the elf on the shelf. I've seen a meme popping around recently of Tim Waltz standing on a postcard. And of course, that's the tard on the card. We retard on the postcard. So we have all these things, but the elf on the shelf is a big tradition for some people. And I never heard of it. It was not a tradition in my house. I asked on Monday, a friend of mine who has children that are in their upper 20s, pushing 30. I said, did you ever hear of it on the shelf? And he said, yeah, we did the elf on the shelf at our house. And I could not believe that. I thought the elf on the shelf was like the last decade, but evidently the elf on the shelf has been around for a very long time. I was not aware of it. And a lot of people go to great painstaking opportunities for to make the elf funny. And I think it's funny. I saw an elf the other day in a meme surrounded by AA batteries. And there was an empty little shooter bottle of booze there. And it says the elf has been naughty. He's having to go to AA, surrounded by batteries. He's getting charged up at AA. So, yeah, Alcoholics Anonymous, Delilah. You should write that name down. You should write that name down. All right. Well, some holiday traditions never get old. And I mean, we all have traditions of, I don't know, opening the gifts in the morning, or do you eat Christmas dinner, Christmas lunch? Outside of the Christmas Day thing that we all do you have some holiday traditions that stick around? Is the elf on a shelf a big deal for you? I never heard of it. I thought it was a brand new trend that happened in the last decade, but evidently I've been sleeping under a shelf somewhere and wasn't aware that elf on a shelf has been around for a long time. I got to research, where did it come from and who started it, and are they getting royalty off this thing? So do you have any traditions that you do? For instance, the last year or so, we have been invited and we have gone to a very nice Christmas Eve dinner at a very nice restaurant. You got to dress up for it and look a little bit better than the average Joe. That's kind of a Christmas Eve thing. When we're in town, we have kind of an out Christmas Eve. Usually my son and I, one of our traditions is we travel over the holidays, whether it's going to Africa or just the beach or the warm weather or something. But this year we don't have any travel on the schedule. I've traveled so much this year. But what are your holiday traditions? Is it the elf on the shelf? If you're Jewish, is it the Minch on the Bench? I'd love to get your take on that. Well, there's a new custom that if you're looking for some kind of a holiday tradition, I'm going to give you some advice. It comes from Catalonia, Spain. So you can be very high tech and international and say, oh, it's such a, we're such international people. That's what you can do. It's called Tio de Nadal. Okay. Tio de Nadal. The name translates as the Christmas log, but it's also known as the poop log, or those using more profane language call it not the poop log, but the S log. And they have a word after that reminds you of what you do at a baseball game. You hit the ball. So the S log. Explained that enough for you, Delilah? I hope so. Here's how the S log or the poop log works. If you're looking for a Christmas tradition, here's one they do in Catalonia, Spain. In the 2.5 weeks leading up to Christmas, so you can still jump in on this, families keep a regular wooden log in the home with a face painted on it. It also has a red hat, and it has 2 wooden legs in front and a blanket that covers up the back end of the wooden log. The log represents a character who will poop out treats come Christmas Day. Now, to get the log to poop out the treats, children pretend to feed it scraps of food. They sing to it. They sing to the log, and the more they perform and dance, they think on Christmas Day that log is going to poop out more treats than ever. Specifically, I think I'll stick with the tradition of a fat guy coming down the chimney. than a log taking a dump in the front yard or in the house. I don't know how to do that. So the kids sing songs about pooping out gifts, and they also can beat the log with the sticks. So it's like a blast, doesn't it? Just sing to the log, beat it up, and wait for the dog to take a poop. On Christmas Day, after singing and beating and dancing in front of the log, the blanket is then lifted off the Christmas log's back end, and surprise, there is a pooped gift for everyone. If you're thinking about where the heck did this idea come from, no one really knows, but that's what they do in Catalonia, Spain. So if you'd like a new Christmas tradition, you could have a poop log. I did know a family that had a Christmas piñata. They were not Hispanic. They just had a tradition. They learned it from someone else. They had a Christmas piñata. They did that when their kids were little. They get some angst out. The kids could go beat the crap out of the piñata. But the poop log, it's been around for centuries, though. It's not something new. It's like the elf on the shelf. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And the family spends pre-Christmas taking care of the log instead of burning it like they do most logs. So it's significant. We're taking this log and usually going to put the fire in the cold of winter, but this log is special. We're going to beat it and sing to it and treat it right, and you will give us a poop log. So if you're looking for a log that will poop out candy treats and you want a new tradition at your house and you're tired of the elf on the shelf, I would recommend the poop log, and you can be international. So, all right, good to have all of you there. What are your Christmas traditions that might be unusual? Somebody says, what kind of candy comes from the log? I think it's all Baby Ruth's. No, I'm sorry. It's too early for that kind of, stop it. It's just too early for that stuff. It's candy that kids like. That's what candies that kids like. Roger's got a Christmas Eve. I cook le canard, an orange, and invite my friends for the Front Range, but no one ever wants to make the drive to my house, so I send them pictures of what they're missing. Oh, his house in the mountains. So yeah, nobody wants to drive up that far. It's way far away. It's like 20 hours away on a horse. It's 20 hours away. Anyway, the poop log. Everybody's talking about the kind of candy the poop log should produce. You guys are sick and twisted. Awful, Delilah. I can't believe you let these people watch this show. All right, thousands of earballs will hear this show throughout the course of the day. Well, many will listen on the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, all the podcast platforms. If you don't like us on the podcast platforms, go do that. Subscribe, like, download it, and that way it helps our numbers. Thousands of people do that every day and every week, and we appreciate you. Many of you watch the live stream, many of you watch the podcast, many of you listen to the whole thing. However you listen to the show, we do appreciate it. And the question of the day, seriously, is what is your Christmas tradition? Travel has always been ours. We're not taking a trip that I know of. I could do something last minute still, but it's yeah, just you tell me what your Christmas traditions are that might be somewhat unusual. And this year we may start a new one. I found out the sushi place is open that my son likes. And so if my son and I get bored after Santa Claus brings the gifts and football's on and we're just watching, it's just the two of us at the house staring at each other, let's go have sushi. That may be what we do. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. Jimmy is my name, Jimmy Lakey. Pleasure, pleased, and thrilled to be here. And all of you are having a lot of fun in the chat rooms, I see, talking about the kind of candy that the poop log might produce for Christmas. And I'm glad you guys are having fun with that. You got your own Christmas tradition. Some of you are going to have a poop log here the next year. You're supposed to do it 2 weeks. Next year you can do it longer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday he had technical difficulties in his fine studio. His microphone was not hooked up correctly. I thought it was a problem on my end, but since I could hear myself, I figured it's all Michael's fault. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Letts, InvestUSA.org. We still gave the pitch for Invest USA in your holiday giving. Michael Letts, your microphone works. Welcome back to the show, sir.
I understand it does. You tell me. Can you hear me?
Oh, that's better than ever before. You sound, it's almost like Barry White's talking to me there. The dulcet tones of Michael Letts.
Well, I will tell you this, Jimmy. They totally reworked my computer system and everything. And when they hooked it all back up, somebody forgot to check to make sure that the mic was on the right setting.
Yeah.
And of course, hey, I don't even know how to turn them on, much less how to run them. So when that happened, we were in trouble.
You can't hire good help. Believe me, I'm looking at the hipster youth here that work with me in the Lakey Entertainment Towers. I got Delilah and Aiden. One's wearing skinny jeans, hasn't shaven in weeks, and he has shaven. I don't know how you grow. You go to the homeless shelter to figure out how to grow that patchy little beard, Aiden? I don't know how you get that. And Delilah, she's still, yeah, we don't know what she does on weekends. All we know is on Monday she's paying her bills in paying her meals and bills with dollar bills covered in glitter. I think she's been down to the dancing place. I don't know. Anyway, Michael, sorry, don't throw anything. I'm on the air. Michael, that's good morning to you, sir. Glad to have you here. I got to talk to you about a couple of things. One of those I want to talk to you about is this shooting at Brown University. Do we have the Keystone cops on the case at Brown University? There's no clues. They put out a place of where the cameras were on campus, and yeah, the guy chose the place where there's no cameras. I mean, they're saying there's no threat to Providence. Everybody's going to be fine, but you don't have a suspect, so the guy still may be at large. Give me your take as a law enforcement guy at Brown University.
Well, let's take a look at, work our way backwards, Jimmy. First of all, we have been saying for some time, and of course, I told you in the last 48 hours, we know for a fact that the IMANs across the globe have now called upon all the sleeper cells, not just in the United States, but even abroad, to activate. That's why you saw the issue in Sydney. You saw, what's happening in LA with the 5 terrorists there, the one in Houston the last few days. And we believe there's a tie-in here with Brown University. Now, that having been said, you would expect that this threat would be taken seriously, that especially institutions of higher learning who charge $70,000 plus a year for their child to go there would somehow think that the value and the safety of their children should be a priority. They're not. This university, when this incident was occurring, didn't even know what was happening on its own campus. It appears that its cameras were either not functional or not properly placed. Now, you got to remember, they have an $8 billion endowment, okay? Jim, you're going to tell me that you can't invest a couple $100 and make sure your cameras are working and make sure they're set in the right place and have it thorough. In fact, the feds are doing it for free. Have a thorough inspection to make sure that you have every safeguard in place for a sharpshooter, or a terrorist attack coming onto your campus. Come on, we know better than that. So that causes the next question. If you really don't want the identity of the shooter being identified, you didn't make any efforts. Why? Is this because there is some ethnic reason? Is it because there is a tie-in perhaps with the university? Or is it just show your incompetency? None of those are good alternatives, Jimmy. And it leaves one to question when they have done absolutely nothing. Keystone Cops is probably the best way you could describe it, Jimmy. And then I'm a little disappointed with our actual law enforcement in the area. Of course, it's hard to come in and fix mistakes when they've been made so dramatically before the incident occurred. So they're doing their best to try to piece together the situation, and we have the feds involved trying to help. We do have some footage from around campus that we're able now to start zeroing in on and identifying. It's very obvious that the person is somewhat has a strange walk, strange gait, etc. We expect that he probably stands out in the crowd. And our suspicion, Jimmy, is he's probably still in the area because he's probably laughing from the standpoint that, look, the Imans made the Muslim and terrorist extremists have said we're beginning to activate our sleeper cells. And this just goes to show you we found a gaping hole in your educational system. How much value do y'all put on your students in higher education? Obviously not much.
Yeah, it's fascinating watching this thing and then watching the incompetence even of this police chief. And I know not everyone's a great public speaker, but this guy doesn't seem to know what time of day it is or even what day of the week it is. The mayor gets up there and says there's no threat. How is there no threat when people were shot and killed on a campus in Providence, like it's a city campus, and we don't know who the guy is, but hey, there's nothing to fear. No one's on the loose out there. Could it be? I mean, Michael, what would be, I guess, the motivation? It seems like they got to know more than what they do in the days that we live in, where everyone has a cell phone, cameras are everywhere. It seems like I'm not getting a full story. Maybe I'm just being kind of a little bit cynical and skeptical. But no, you're not
getting the full story, Jimmy.
And I guess the question is this the feds that are covering this up? Is it local police? Where's the cover up or the limitation of information coming from?
Right now, the initial cover was coming from the locals. But this is what I'm cautioning us on from a federal standpoint side. Don't play their game. Call it like it is. Be truthful, be transparent. There's no reason to hide anything. They were totally ill-prepared. They have total lack of planning on total lack of precautions necessary. But furthermore, if there's a tie-in with the university on who the assailant was, that needs to be public. And it needs to show that they have cudgeled terrorists for way too long. You know what happens, Jimmy. You've seen it so many times on the news. The universities are being taken over by pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas groups that go so far as to shut down schools, shut down classes, terrorize or anti-Semitic, terrorize students. And yet we sit by and allow it to happen. Now I'm picking on the feds. I mean, I realize that, yes, local police is supposed to assist, but that becomes a federal issue as well. That is a terrorist. That is domestic terrorism. And why we are sitting back, it gets back to the whole issue you and I have talked about, Jimmy. Where is accountability? Now, my strong position with the administration has been this. We've had 11 months, and I don't think we have a whole lot to crow about on accountability. We've got a lot of things to crow about, how we've identified nefarious activities and where it's at. But we don't have a lot to crow about what we've done to hold these people accountable. I'm very hopeful based on what I'm hearing now that 2026, not the end of 2026, but starting in January, you're going to see major issues occurring of indictments coming down and major accountability being held. But I'm grateful in one sense for what we're talking about with the university. I think we need to put on our list, talk about within the feds, that our higher education system needs to be revamped. It needs to be totally re-looked at, especially when it comes to the safety of the students that are there. And quite frankly, Jimmy, let's be very blunt with each other. If you're allowing people to preach on your university campus, death to America and death to those who support our capitalism and support our way of life, then you're no better than any of the other terrorist organizations. You need to either be dissolved or restructured.
Yeah. If you're listening to the podcast version of the show later in the day, that is the voice of the illustrious Michael Letts. We'll talk more about his organization in a second, investusa.org. And thousands of earballs will hear the show. And I want you to know who the voice is if you're not looking at it on the screen. Michael Letts, investusa.org. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Michael, you mentioned the Department of Justice, the FBI. I think a lot of us were expecting, on day 1, day 2, day 10, day 100, that there was going to be a little bit more accountability. Let me put a big question. I'll let you take it any way you want. We're learning now that FBI agents did not think there was justification, probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago. But Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray said, like hell, there's not any evidence. We're going to go do it anyway. They signed off on this, even though they were advised by people that were investigators that there's nothing to see here. President Trump says those people should be put in jail. But again, seemingly nothing is happening to those guys. Lied before Congress, lied about the weaponization of the justice system, and they're still walking the street and heralded by the left. And then you have another FBI investigation with the attempted assassination of President Trump. We found out Christopher Wray lied under oath about knowing something about this guy. It just seems as if we get frustrated. We thought we had Kash Patel in there. We thought we had Bongino, and they were really going to drive out some of this truth from the first assassination attempt to the weaponization of government. And it's just not happening. What is the slowness of it? Did they hide the evidence? Did Kash lose his will? What happened?
Well, quite frankly, let's take it from the top. We know we had tremendous nefarious activities going on, and it's not just one person, just the head. You have to understand, Jimmy, they have 38,000 employees. And so when you've had control for decades, not just of your top personnel, but, the top personnel hire who the HR person would be, et cetera, et cetera. And they make sure that the people coming in were very much attuned to their philosophy, which is against the American people. So you've got a lot of nefarious activity going on there that it would take more than just removing one or two people. So you put Kash and Dan in, they're doing what they can. However, I'm gonna call it like it is. It's kind of hard to be doing what needs to be done in removing nefarious people when you begin to take actions yourself, such as the utilization of the jet or utilization of security forces, SWAT teams for protection, et cetera, on things that really have a hard time passing the mustard test as to whether they're justifiable to the American taxpayer. So you've got that. Then you have the element of we find the nefarious activity, but we can't do anything with it. We got to send it over to the Department of Justice for concurrence from DOJ that, yes, they think there's evidence in there to bring an indictment. If they don't, then it doesn't do any good to arrest you, Jimmy, because they won't get an indictment anyway because DOJ won't do it. So it's a waste of our time. So you've got that balance going on between the Bureau and the Department of Justice. It's very, very frustrating with the Department of Justice. They don't seem to respond either way. Here's the evidence. It's pretty black and white. So can we expect the prosecutors to be assigned and to get indictments going? And what is the response that we get? Well, half of the prosecutors have left because they don't like Donald Trump. They don't like the change in the direction that we're taking. So we're short-staffed. We don't have enough people. We'll put it on the list. We'll put it on, on our desk, and we'll try to get to it eventually.
Yeah.
American people hear that, but then when we don't ever get to it, Jimmy, they wonder, did you say that just to make it go away?
Yeah. It's a fascinating question and frustrating for many of us. I have one more headline I want to run by you, Michael. That's my guest. Headline yesterday or 2 days ago, Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino to decide about his future at the Bureau in coming weeks. According to sources, the Deputy Director faces decision following a blistering 115-page report from Bureau personnel. A source familiar with the situation tells Fox News Digital that Bongino has not made any decisions about his future. What do we know about Bongino? We thought he may be leaving a couple of months ago over the Epstein files and the bungling of that. There was rumors that he had a big clash with Pam Bondi. Now we have this mysterious report that has surfaced that says that Kash Patel and Bongino are not doing a good job. What do we know about the report, and what do we know about the future of Bongino?
Well, let's take him out in the way that you put him out. First of all, understand he had a clash not just with Pam, but with Susan, the chief of staff in the White House as well. What were the clashes about? Dan is a man of action. He kind of like, okay, I've got enough. I think there should be an indictment here. What day can I expect the indictment? And when you send it over, and it's kind of like, well, we're working on it. We don't have enough staff. We'll get back with you. Dan gets frustrated very easily, and I understand why. And then, of course, Dan's not the kind to just sit back and just fume his frustrations to himself and not air them. Of course, in politics, when you air things, Jimmy, that can kind of put a little mark on you that nobody wants to be around you. So Dan's having to make some personal decisions as to how effective he can be. Now, that having been said, let's take the second issue, the report. It's interesting to me that inside report is being done by current, some active, some retired, some that have just quit agents, but they're also current agents inside, being critical of Dan and Kash. Now, hey, I'm the first one on your show, Jimmy. I've been critical of Kash. I've been critical of some other things as well. There's sometimes criticism is necessary and is appropriate. But when it's on the inside and you're criticizing the direction the agency is taking, it goes back to what we just talked about a minute ago. You've got such nefarious activity so deep, it's been there for so long, that doesn't like you being there, that wants to regain control themselves, they call direction, and not allow things to come out that they've done. I think that's where the key is lying here, Jimmy, is when you really begin to find out what the agency have done. Let's just take what you just said earlier. They knew good and well they shouldn't have gone into Mar-a-Lago, yet it was done anyway. And now what did the Bureau do? Instead of taking a firm stance saying, here's our position, we don't agree, send it out. No, what do? They help cover it up. That's what the problem is, Jimmy. The agency, the Bureau has done way too much about it. Even if we disagree with the position, we'll help cover it up so the American people don't know. That's going to stop, Jimmy. Yep. We cannot allow that to happen anymore.
You think Bongino's going to stick around? Is he going to have a little, this has to get done or I'm out of here? What's your estimation?
I think Bongino's position is very clear. There has been too many nefarious activities. There's been too many questionable activities within the current situation. And if this is the direction we're going to continue to head, I'm going to find another ship to ride.
Michael, it's always a pleasure, sir. We're 1 week away from Christmas Eve, a week and a day away from Christmas Day. And there's a lot of need out there. And one of the needs we have is with these terrorists now seeming to be awakened, with these deportations and these radical leftists trying to threaten ICE. We have all these people that are fighting for truth, justice, the American way, or law enforcement are under constant threat. And you have committed your life's work to help them by putting active shooter vests and protective gear on men and women in law enforcement. And people would do well to help out investusa.org. Go.
Well, I would really appreciate that, Jimmy. This holiday season, we have so much to be thankful for living in this country, but so much is at risk. And the people that we're asking to help us clean and remove the risk is our first responders. They having to put their lives on the line every day. It's getting worse. The cartels are offering $10,000 reward for any officer killed in the line of duty in the United States. We know that they're targets. They have a big red bullseye on their back, and yet we can't even give them the necessary equipment so they can celebrate Christmas with their kids and grandkids. That's a crying shame. But beyond that, Jimmy, here's what I want to press for during this holiday season for Invest is we have the lowest morale in first responders in history. They don't know. Do we support them? I mean, the government's been abusing them. Do we support them or not? Take the opportunity. I don't care if you only give $1. Take the opportunity to support a first responder. Do two things. During this holiday season, tell a first responder when you see one, thank you for serving. I appreciate your willingness to put your life on the line. The second thing is give $1, $2, $10, whatever you can give to help as a Christmas present to them to make sure that they can come home safe with their families. When you look at how much abuse and how much waste we spend in this country that we're tracking down now, we're going to be bringing it in. You know that, Jimmy. We're going to go after them. But you'd think the least we could have done is make sure our first responders and our military have what's necessary to guarantee our secure freedoms for the future.
InvestUSA.org. Those end of the year donations, Christmas holiday donations, send them over. InvestUSA.org. They do great work and protecting and keeping safe the family, the law enforcement member or the person on the street enforcing our laws and keeping us safe, and also make sure that they get to come home on Christmas morning to have Christmas with their children around the Christmas tree. So keep those families together, and that's how you can help do that. InvestUSA.org. InvestUSA.org. Michael, one more quick question. I don't know if you've gotten word or anything. Are you on Santa's naughty list or are you on the good list? Do you know yet?
No, I stay on the naughty list. I don't want to get on the good list because if I'm on the good list, it means I'm not doing my job. So I want to make sure. You see, there's a network of those who make that recommendation, and that's a network I'm going after who have been doing nefarious things to our country. So I want to make sure I stay on the bad list because they know the heat's on them.
Bring in the heat, Michael Letts. When you said you're always on the naughty list, I'm like, well, that's just with Mrs. Letts. I was talking about with Santa Claus.
That's a given. I mean, so I'm used to it. That's why the criminals are so upset about my involvement is because I'm used to being on the naughty list. You don't have anything to threaten me with.
Yeah, if you can put up with the threat of Mrs. Letts gives you every day, giving that eye. Like, Michael, you're doing that again? You can put up with anything. Michael Letts, you can't shake him. He's unflappable. He's in Michael Letts, InvestUSA.org, InvestUSA.org. Michael, we'll probably talk again, but if not, Merry Christmas. We'll talk again very soon, sir.
Merry Christmas to you. God bless America. Jimmy, we couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for your loyalty to our country.
Thank you, sir. God bless you, my friend. Happy Christmas to you. Michael Letts, InvestUSA.org. I feel good saying that. InvestUSA.org. All right, ladies and gentlemen, somebody said, talking about this Brown University, get Nils on the case. Ladies and gentlemen, Nils Gravilius is scheduled to actually be with us today. The esteemed private investigator, Nils Gravilius, is scheduled to be with us in a matter of moments. We're hoping to hear his arrival into the green room here momentarily. Delilah's keeping a sharp eye on the parking lot to make sure that Nils Gravilius gets in to the green room in time for his interview. So stand by. Brother Nils Gravilius is going to be with us here real soon, and we'll see if we can solve the crimes that are in Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island, because evidently no one else can. If nobody can, Nils can. That's what we'll get Nils on the case. That's scheduled coming up here in just a moment. Hey, Sherry Cree, you hear me talk about her often on the program. Very first time, producer Chad and I first noodled around this great idea of having this little show that we call Lakey Unleashed. Sherry stepped up to the table immediately, said, I want to be a sponsor. I'm in. And we've had a lot of great support and different people that have helped us out. But Sherry's been with us since the very beginning, and she's we're very grateful for her participation in the program. Listen, I know Christmas, the week before Christmas, you're not necessarily thinking, let's sell the house right now. That's not what you want to do, right? But you're thinking 2026, now's the time to start talking to Sherry, even if it's just getting on the radar after Christmas and say, could we have coffee? Can we have a conversation on the call and talk about what it is that you need to accomplish? There's so many scenarios. Maybe it's just you want to sell bigger house, smaller house, different area, whatever. Maybe you're like me, you get to this place in life where you have an aging parent that you kind of need to figure out how you're going to take care of their care. And if they're no longer in their house, how you're going to sell their house. Listen, Sherry understands that life happens. And by the way, maybe you're a first-time home buyer. Maybe your kids want to buy a home, and you're like, they won't listen to me. They're my kids. Well, have them call Sherry. Give them a gift certificate and say you get a consultation with Sherry Cree to talk about buying your first home. Listen, real estate's not just sticking the sign of the yard and holding an open house. There's a process. There's a strategy, and Sherry sees that big picture. That's why you got to call her. You're the Interstate 25, the I-25. If you're on the 25 in Colorado, that comes through Denver up to Fort Collins, take the 36 out to the Boulder. You know the idea, that I-25 corridor. If you're in that area, Sherry's ready to help you with whatever real estate transaction is on the horizon. But you need to start planning ahead, because literally listing your home a month or two in different directions can change by a lot of money, tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars, at how much you get on that home. You want to be at the very best seller's market. If you're selling, the very best buyer's market, Sherry can tell you that literally those can change in a 1 week period. So get that strategy going. Homeswithsherry.com. Sherry Cree, great friend of the program, great supporter of Rivers Promise, our great charity work. Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. 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 And ladies and gentlemen, make sure you give her a call. All right, Niels Gravilius is celebrating in the green room. I told you Delilah was watching the parking lot to make sure he got his VIP parking spot. And he has already gotten into the chocolate-covered cake donuts and the powdered donuts back there. Niels Gravilius wiping his mouth off to clean himself up to be presentable for the program. Famed and esteemed private investigator. I bet they wish they had him in Providence, Rhode Island today. It's Mr. Niels Gravilius. How are you, sir?
I don't think I've ever enjoyed a nicer day, Mr. Lakey.
It's great. I felt like I was talking to Michael Letts, who's in law enforcement. We were talking about the bungling of the Brown University shooting and no suspects. And some people in the chat room were saying, get Niels on the case. And I'm like, Niels is going to be on the show. So it was like we were putting up a bat signal in Gotham, and we put up the Niels face, and that's shining in the sky. And here you are. You appear. The bat signal has gone up.
Well, quite a situation at Brown University. Have you tracked the thing close by at MIT?
The professor was shot in his home, a Jewish professor, strong advocate of Israel.
And I think the professor who was supposed to be presenting the class at Brown was also Jewish, only she was presenting remotely.
Wow.
Okay, so I don't know. I mean, both of these look pretty well planned, particularly the Brown University thing. University campus, everything is under surveillance all the time. Photo surveillance, that sort of thing. People, it's an Ivy League campus, a very expensive university to attend. I was watching the chief of police at his press conference yesterday. I think he's in over his head, and I will tell you why.
Yeah, please do, because I'm like, could you just get somebody from the front desk to make the statements? This police chief is awful in front of the camera.
Well, okay, so he's probably used to dealing with your typical municipal crime problems, drunk driving, property crimes, the occasional domestic violence, a murder or two, that kind of thing. I think this is a political murder that has been carried out by extremists. I don't know if it is Hajis or hardcore leftists like the Luigi Mangione people, that sort of thing, but it doesn't look good. It appears to have been very well planned. The man seems to have made a clean escape so far. The chief probably isn't used to dealing with a Marxist insurgency, which is what our country has been in pretty much since 1999, a very slow burn, slowly escalating situation since the battle for Seattle, the World Trade Organization protests that were disrupted by the hard left, and then the WTO decided to fund all of their green organizations, which is how they paid them off, and that's where a lot of these leftists get their money, is from anti-global warming, environmental this, hoo-ha that, so really that's what I think is going on. We're in a Marxist insurgency. Elias Rodriguez shot the two people at the Israeli embassy. he's accused of it anyway. Luigi Mangione, the United Healthcare executive. We've seen these attacks over and over again, and I think we're going to see more of them. This is right out of the training manual for low intensity conflict that the United States Army Special Warfare people and counterintelligence people use.
Wow. I knew that the Saturday session was a study session, but I had not heard Nils Gravilius breaks the news and tells us that the professor that oversees that class was at the study session, but remotely, and happens to be Jewish. It's also interesting, Nils, that MIT professor, who's an advocate, pro-Israeli professor, Jewish guy, it's really getting very little news. I mean, there's just no coverage of that. And since there's no coverage, there's no one really willing to connect the dots and go, wait, how did this guy, someone walked into his home and murdered him there? It's almost as if the real mainstream media doesn't want us to know these connections, or at least they don't want us asking questions. Nothing to see here, Nils. Just move right along.
Well, yeah, we've seen this quite a bit. I want to point out something with the Mangione situation. Within 12 hours of Luigi Mangione being identified as the probable assailant of the United Healthcare executive, Jimmy, people were already taking to social media and posting that he had a bad back problem and had a reason to be mad at insurance companies, as if it was a group activity defending him.
Yeah.
And then after he was arrested, within 12 hours, seemingly, there were people with pre-printed signs showing up demanding at various locations that he be freed. And now he has a bunch of greasy little communist sycophants outside the courthouse every single time he makes a court appearance, mostly young women, demanding that he be freed, that he's innocent, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
All of this looks remarkably like Sacco and Vanzetti. We had a real political violence problem in this country 100 years ago that people have mostly forgotten. A rising of left-wing, neo-Marxist, Marxist agitation. In 1906, the former governor of Idaho was assassinated with a dynamite bomb put under his porch. And the Pinkertons arrested Big Bill Haywood, the labor organizer, the Wobbly, who had put together the bombing. Well, Haywood was eventually acquitted by a very skilled Clarence Darrow in a very dramatic courtroom trial in Boise. Big Bill Haywood is buried in the Kremlin wall next to John Reed now, the author of the 12 Days That Shook the World.
Wow. It's just fascinating that are we coming to a head here, Nils? I heard from my previous guest that ISIS has sent the word out that they'll wake up your sleeper cells. If you're sleeping, it's time to wake up. You have the attack in Australia on Bondi Beach. You have this crazy attack at Brown University, the MIT professor. Are we coming to a head here? Is this all coming to light? And maybe that's what has to happen, comes to a head so we can flush these monsters out.
Well, ISIS issues a new proclamation every day. Bondi Beach, maybe ISIS related. Obviously, the two men, the father-son team, were, consanguineous with the jihad and carried out an attack, a terrorist attack. Events, though, like the attack at Brown University and the attack on the MIT professor appear to be very well planned, staged in advance. And when the police get too chatty about the methods that they use to identify malefactors in crimes like this, the malefactors sharpen up their approach. They'll have a change of clothing nearby. They'll launder their cars a couple of times. They'll wear a Tyvek suit underneath the clothing that they're wearing when they make the attack. They immediately dispose of the clothing. They wear gloves when they load their guns so that they don't leave trace evidence on the shell casings, things like that. So it's going to be more challenging. I think when you look at the lawyers representing people like Luigi Mangione and Elias Rodriguez, we will discover that those are Marxist agitators too. The National Lawyers Guild has long been a hotbed of Marxist-Leninist organization and operations within the United States. Lynn Stewart is a prima facie example. She defended the blind Sheikh Rahman for the 1993 World Trade Center attack, and then later against court orders was carrying out his communiques out of the prison system to his followers, and she eventually got disbarred and imprisoned for her activism. But the hard left cheered her. They thought she was the coolest chick in the world. So it isn't just the Marxists, it's a sort of a meld of the Marxists and the jihad. They're natural allies in this fight against us, even though they have a lot of differing things. The jihad is happy to throw gay people from the roofs of buildings and stone adulterers to death and that sort of thing. And you can tell exactly how principled the Marxists are when they slither into bed with the jihad. Okay.
Yeah. Niels Gravilius is my guest, and again, a great private investigator. His book is coming out next year, The Last Lawman. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Niels, one more quick question on Brown, and then I want to move to a murder that happened over the weekend out in your neck of the woods on the West Coast out there. We'll get to that story in a second. But there seems to be, with Brown University, one more question on that they just have some footage, and it looks like this guy had a mask on. He's pacing around. We know that. They were asked yesterday at the press conference, they said, why are you at Brown University deleting pages off your website? The professor had no clue that they were deleting pages. Fox News confirmed they were deleting pages, and the communications department of Brown said, we're deleting some things because some students were being doxxed, and that's what they're removing. And I've heard this twice now this morning. Somebody just posted, a broadshear posted, one of the things they removed from Brown University is the online profile of a guy named Mustafa Karbouch. I've heard that name. I haven't started early this morning, but we do know Brown University is kind of cleaning up their website from some stuff. Could it be somebody that's affiliated with Brown? If you're profiling the murderer here, is this somebody that had some kind of inside track at Brown University?
Well, there would have to be inside information in order to launch an attack like that. I don't know that Mr. Karbouch is involved in the attack at Brown University, but it's curious that his profile would be yanked down. I don't know what his politics are. We all know that the university system throughout this country is a hotbed of Marxist organization. Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, Leon Trotsky, Mao Zedong, Zhou Enlai have a happy home in our university system. There's nothing too odious for them to have done that the left won't celebrate it.
Yeah. This past Sunday, the tragic death of Rob and Michelle Reiner. The alleged suspect is their son, Nick, who evidently has had years of drug problems. Talk about this case. It seems like I hate to say open and shut, but from the eyes of a private investigator, what have we watched happen with the tragedy of Rob Reiner getting killed and his wife?
No, I think it's a crime of passion. I don't think that Nick Reiner is psychotic. I think this was a slow building rage that he had with his father wanting him to get well from narcotics over and over again. His father may have put him in a few situations involving harm reduction medications. Well, Nick's an adult. He's 32 years old. He has to make his own choices if he's going to get well. If this man was on Suboxone or buprenorphine or one of the other harm reduction meds, they're just the modern version of methadone, meaning he continued using narcotics. And apparently he had a blow up at a party at Conan O'Brien's house the night before. Romy Reiner, Rob Reiner's daughter, apparently is the one who discovered the attack in the morning. There was a report yesterday that her mother made a statement prior to dying to Romy that Nick was the one responsible. Nick fled. Nick was living in a guest house on the property, and took flight, went to a hotel, and apparently the police found a great deal of blood evidence in the hotel where Nick had been staying. The questions that the DA is going to have are, is this premeditated versus was it spontaneous? Manslaughter versus first-degree murder. Now, if Nick brought his own weapon to the attack, it's probably first degree. If he and his father had a blow up and it was sudden and he grabbed whatever was available, then that goes more toward manslaughter. Now, I will say that a source of mine in LAPD says that Rob Reiner was stabbed more than 50 times and his throat slit.
Sheesh.
That's incredible, intense fury. I don't want to get too macabre with a civilian audience, but I will say that murdering somebody with a knife in this way is intimate and brutal and exhausting. I mean, you have to really put real energy into your attack to do this. And he killed 2 people, the people who raised him. Okay. This is an incredible level of rage. And I think that more's going to come out about this. Were I representing Nick Reiner as his attorney, I'm not an attorney, of course. I don't even play one on TV. I would be leaning toward trying to make a plea bargain. The Reiner family has suffered something horrible here. Even though I don't agree with Reiner's politics, it isn't good. It's a horrible crime. People have been upset with the president for a social media post that he made. I'm going to defend the president here quickly, Jimmy. Rob Reiner and President Trump were friends for decades. And after Donald Trump went into politics, Rob Reiner turned volte-face on him and made all of his attacks on Donald Trump personal. It doesn't justify Rob Reiner getting attacked, murdered, his wife getting murdered. Those things are horrible. But it lends a little bit of texture to why President Trump would make a social media post about this. They were once friends, and Trump felt betrayed by Reiner. That gives it context.
Yep. Watching, and again, this one, I said one may be an open and shut case, but just watching even the press conferences, the difference between the LAPD and the Providence, Rhode Island PD, that's a night and day comparison. If a horrific murder like that had happened in Providence, I don't know if that police, just LA police seem to have nailed this one down pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would say so. Jim McDonald's a good chief of police. He does a lot of things I don't agree with, but that's okay. Now, the chief in Providence has a bunch of bastards in suits looking over his shoulder, trying to gainsay everything that he does, start to finish. And I'm going to provide you some evidence of that. They have not released a description of the assailant, white man, black man, Levantine man, Asian man, nor have they stated what the words were that he enunciated when he launched his attack. There have been at least 2 people who were present, who stated that he said something when he launched his attack. Let's find out. Let's bring this out. And I think the reason the chief isn't giving anybody a description of this man may be that he is under heavy pressure to keep this nice and politically correct. Well, I call PC vanilla Sharia. It is a form of Sharia law for people who don't believe in God. People who nibble on tofu and want you to have a vegan cat. That's their form of Sharia law, Jimmy.
Yeah, it is. Nils Gravilius. First of all, Stacy in the chat room says, "Don't tell my husband I have a crush on Nils. Neat guy."
Tell Stacy it's mutual. She's fantastic. I don't want to get Stacy in too much trouble with her husband, but she's a fantastic woman.
There you have it. Jeff says, "Good stuff, Nils and Jimmy." He says now we get the rest of the story. So, Nils, glad to have you here. First of all, I got to ask you: are you on Santa's naughty list? Lumping a coal in the stocking? What are you going to have there? for Christmas?
Santa doesn't dare cut me off, Mr. Lakey. I can do bad things to Santa. He'll stay stuck in that chimney for 4.5 years, and I'll have to deliver the presents myself, okay? Santa and I have a deal, an accommodation, sort of like a tiger and a lion. That's all.
GreviliusPI.com. It's amazing. I said we had big crimes, East Coast, West Coast. We got to get Niels on the case, and glad you could jump in here. Now, with the turning of the calendar in a couple of weeks, we're weeks away from the release of your book, The Last Lawman.
You can pre-order it today on Amazon, Jimmy Lakey. All of your viewers. I have a review under submission to Soldier of Fortune magazine, written by a retired Green Beret officer. I'm trying to get Camille Paglia to write a review of my book. I think she could do a good critical review. It's not just like a recitation of this fight, that gun battle, following this guy, that sort of thing. It's what I saw. It's what I learned. It's how I felt. It's what makes a good private detective. I discussed the big three, the reasons you can lose your license and wind up in jail as a private detective. And all of these things can be found in my book. And I would urge your listeners, your viewers, to consider my book as a good way to wreck their Father's Day. It'll be delivered in June. It's The Last Lawman. It's available on Amazon. I'm on X, formerly Twitter, at Detective Nils. And I'm always standing by to make trouble.
Detective Nils. I got to bet. Delilah, make sure we have Detective Nils on our X following. Make sure we have that. Detective Nils. Nils, I appreciate you hopping on the program. I think Stacy jumped in and she says she'll write a review for you.
Well, that would be fantastic of Stacy. Tell Stacy to follow me on X, formerly Twitter.
Yeah, that's going to get her in trouble with her husband again. There we go.
Well, that's okay. He can follow me too. He can follow the both of us, right?
That's it. Roger says Nils is one of the few people I would be fearful to cross. Hey, if this guy will take out Santa Claus and leave him in a chimney for 4 years.
I'm a very nice man. Don't kid yourself.
That's it. Nils Grevilius, it's a pleasure, my friend. If I don't talk to you before, have a great Christmas.
Merry Christmas, and stay out of trouble, Jimmy Lakey. I don't want to have to bail you out.
Yeah, please get his number on speed dial, Delilah. That's what we need. Nils Grevilius, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you very much. Nils Grevilius, GreviliusPI.com. The name of the book you can pre-order is The Last Lawman. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. Jimmy is my name. Pleasured, pleased, and thrilled to be here with you. It's a big week, and I want to get to the stolen memes section of the show, but you're going to have to let me talk here for just a second, all right? I'm asking for some of you to help us out here. Rivers Promise, we have a big Christmas party at our school, Legacy Christian Academy, on Friday. And this is we're kind of getting down to the wire. If you haven't helped out with the Christmas gifts for the kids, $25 is a pair of shoes for a child, and we'd like to be able to participate greatly. But I've also have a bigger ask. There's an email going out to our email list today, and I've asked for 15 people, and we need about 11 more or so that would give $1,950. That underwrites a classroom, one-time gift that underwrites a classroom for 30 children for about 1 month. And that's just going to give us some padding and take some of the stress off, the pressure off that we have every month, and making sure all the bills and all the teachers are paid and all the food is bought for the school. And that's really one of our big ones. The food bill is quite high. And if you can help us out, $1,950, a one-time gift. I'd like to have those come in this week. Matter of fact, today would be really good because it will get us set up to start off our school year in 2026 and help wrap up any remaining things that we need to cover for 2025. So again, if you can sponsor a child for Christmas, do that. $25 a pair of shoes. If you haven't given, give to that today. And again, the small gifts are fantastic. I rarely ask for something so big as $1,950. But it hit me that this would be a great way to do it. Some of you have participated. I'm going to send out an email to our general list today. But I'd like to ask you, today would be a great day if you could make a one-time donation. $1,950. That's about $65 per child, 30 kids in a classroom. And that gives us a little bit of a runway and leeway to keep our school operational and functional and meet all the needs that we have of all these precious kids that we have under our care. There's so many stories of these kids were not in our school. No joke, my friends, as Joe Biden would say. Some of the girls would grow up and end up being exploited, have to pay their bills. Probably we've had girls tell us that they realize about the time they got to high school, they realize all my friends that don't go to school, they're turning tricks. They're prostituting themselves out for a meal. And that would be the future of a lot of the kids in our schools. So it's just important. I know you say I got a lot of things to give to. I understand. Give what you can. If you don't, but if you can't give that $1,950, we'd appreciate it. If you do $25 for the Christmas party, today is a big day. I'd like it to be a very big donation day because the Christmas party is coming up. We're wrapping up the school year there and just kind of wrapping up the year. This make sure we have all the needs met for this year. If you can make that donation, $1,950, I would appreciate it. The kids would appreciate it. And I don't tell you the sob story to tell you the sob story, but it's very true. These kids would not be in school. They'd be street kids. They'd be roaming the streets, begging, looking, trying to, if they see a person walking down the street, they'd be begging for money, possibly committing petty crime, petty theft. A lot of the girls find themselves in very exploitive situations as they get older, but we've got kids that go to school, and it is literally the ladder that these kids will climb from the pit of extreme poverty. So again, if you feel so inclined, you feel led, feel free to make that donation. And I'm not pressuring anybody. Nobody gets pressure from me. I'm probably a horrible fundraiser, honestly, because I don't put the pressure on. And when I tell a story, it's a very heartfelt story, and it's one that moved me, so I pass those on to you. But if you can't, today, and if you can't do it till the 30th, that's fine. We'll accept it then. But today would be a very fantastic day because we got to send some money over there very soon and try to limit the numbers of sends that we have because of the fees and stuff that goes with the transfers and things. So if you can help us out, today would be a great day. Tomorrow's a great day. Friday's a great day. But what you give today, literally, especially if you're buying the Christmas gifts for the kids, you actually literally that money will be at use in the next 12 to 24 hours. We will send that money over there, and that's how quickly your money will go to help the kids. And again, this is the time. Many of them have never had a Christmas. They don't know what a Christmas gift is. They don't have Christmas trees that they wake up. They're just happy to get a meal that day, and you can help it happen. But again, $1,950 is one big ask we have to underwrite a classroom for 1 month, a one-time gift. If you could do that today, and also, my friends, if you could consider those Christmas gifts. And again, I know the big number is a big number. If you can do it, do it. If you can't do it, I love you still. I understand. We appreciate your participation. And if Rivers Promise is not your deal, you don't feel that tingle in your heart, that tug in your heart, good. Just be generous somewhere. Give to a great cause and make an impact on people's lives this Christmas season. Make sure Christmas isn't just about you and your little clan there. Make sure that you're being generous as possible. It would be very good for you to do that. All right, riverspromise.org. Make those donations. Today would be a great day if you could do it. We'd love to have that. As a matter of fact, I'll check the emails here in just a second, see how many of you are hopping online right now. Riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. All right, here we go. We got the globe. It's time to steal memes from around the globe, the stolen memes section of the show. So let's do this right now. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Belichick was spotted taking his girlfriend to Claire's to get her ears pierced. I haven't had a Belichick joke in a few weeks. Belichick. I don't blame the guy. I mean, I don't blame the guy. Don't judge him. Just don't judge him. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Mary, exhausted, having just gotten Jesus to sleep, is approached by a young man who thinks to himself, what this girl needs is a drum solo. Pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. She traveled all the way, living in a barn, wrapped in some swaddling rags there, and in the manger in the barn. And hey, I'm going to play the drums for this girl. That's what she really wants. That's a good point. Good point. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. It's Yoda when you're cutting wrapping paper and your scissors do the glidey thing. Remember that feeling? I was over a survey. A third of Americans save their wrapping paper and reuse it. I don't know how you do that because I just rip the crap off. You're not going to reuse my wrapping paper. That's assuming that I get a gift, which is rare. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. when you are with your best friend, it doesn't matter whose idea it was as long as your alibis match. Hey, we got to sync up our story. Let's got to do that. Let's sync up our story. If we get caught, here's what we're telling everybody, right? Yeah, that's true. Good friends. Just make sure your alibis are all correct and your stories are lined up. Round and round the globe we go. Where you steal the memes from, no one knows. Call me a traditionalist, but I prefer my cranberry in its natural state in the shape of a can of dog food. I never ate the cranberry from the can. As a kid, I didn't like the texture of it. But one time I was actually having Thanksgiving dinner in Rwanda at Scott would know. That's where he likes to say when he goes to the Heaven Hotel. Thanksgiving meal. I might have been with Scott, actually, having the Thanksgiving meal. They had cranberry sauce like real, and it was delicious. And since then, I've been jaded. I like the cranberry. Not sure I like the canned stuff. I just do the real stuff. Round and round the globe we go. Where you steal the memes from, no one knows. This Christmas, I've decided to stop drinking, work out, eat healthier. All right, you've already talked me out of it. Here's the wine. That's it. Yeah, I keep doing that. All of those things I keep trying to do, and then I hang out with producer Chad. He's a bad influence, my friends. He's a bad influence. I would probably be a saint if it weren't for producer Chad. Blame him. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. There he is. There's the gong. How much intellectual property we have stolen. And when you can offend the Chinese on stealing property, you know you've done a very, very good job. Thanks to Michael Lutz for being a part of the program. Thanks to Niels Gravilius. We appreciate him. Thanks to Sherry Cree for being just almost on the show with us for about a year as well. And thanks to all of you for tuning in. Don't forget, go to the iHeart the podcast platform. Go to the Spotify. Like us and subscribe to us there. And we'll give our holiday schedule here probably by tomorrow. We'll let you know what the holiday schedule shall be like. But in the meantime, my friends, don't forget, counting on you. If you're not on our email list, go subscribe now, riverspromise.org. There's a subscription box. Put your email. I'll send an email out. But looking for a few more people to give $1,950. That sponsors a classroom for 1 month. You can help us do that right now. riverspromise.org. Today's a big day. Those Christmas gifts you've been thinking about buying a kid a pair of shoes. You only give $1, all of it. All of it. We're going to put it to work immediately to give kids a great Merry Christmas in Rwanda. And you can help us. riverspromise.org. Go, where are my 1950 people? Go make that donation today. And if you're not one of those people, have another $10 people. We'd love to have all of you participate because we're spreading the Christmas message and keeping kids alive and off the streets. riverspromise.org. May God bless you. May God bless America. Happy Hump Day, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. God bless America. Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.